proposed amendments to the IAS Cadre rules continue to be a flashpoint between the states and the central government. Two more chief ministers, this time from the states of Kerala and Tamil Nadu, have now written to Prime Minister Narendra Modi asking him to withdraw this proposal. The amendments allow union government to post IAS officers on central deputation, thereby enabling them to bypass the state governments. Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan has said that the new rules will induce fear, psychosis amongst the officers to implement policies of state governments that are politically opposed by the central government. While Tamil Nadu Chief Minister says that instead of these changes, the central government should engage with the state government to strengthen the federal spirit of our nation. Now remember, earlier 7 states had raised an objection in the matter. This included 3 NDA-ruled states. I'm now joined on the broadcast by Mr. Charan Singh Sapra of the Congress Party and also Mr. Raman Malik of the BJP. Mr. Sapra, I will come to you first. Thank you so much for joining me on the broadcast. What is the major contention as far as these proposed amendments to the IAS Cadre rules are concerned?
I feel number one, it will disturb the cooperative federalism, which is, given by the Constitution of India. And somehow it seems that the central government wants to keep the control over these IAS officers. And it amounts to, authoritarian way of ruling the country. Various states have opposed it. And I feel some more states will be opposing in the days to come. It looks that the central government wants to control the entire system. And, Modi-cracy will prevail upon the democracy in the days to come if this goes on.
Mr. Malik, would you like to respond to that?
You see, the point is, one has to understand what basically the issue is. The issue is that these officers are under All India Service Commission, number one. Number two, it's the union service, that is there, UPSC is there. Now, that is the basic from where these officers are coming from. So that has to be understood, and the service rule book also has to be understood. At the end of the day, it is that these officers are there granted to the states to operate the legislative can create laws, but the executive has to do the execution. Now, the point here is that if there is a good officer, or if there's an officer whose requirement is there in a central project, these officers are the employees of the Union of India. And they may be on certain deputations, they may be on a state cadre, but at the end of the day, their execution of work is connected to the Union of India. Now, what has happened, and everybody has seen also, that a lot of officers have basically, it has come to light at various points that they have become alienated from the cause of the union, and they've become activists of certain ideologies. Now, one has to understand that when you enter the sphere of execution in the state, in the center and the state through your official capacity, you are supposed to be working for these 30-odd years for the development of the nation, for the execution of the ideas of the constitution, for the legislative laws that have been enacted by the parliament, by the state assemblies, and executed for the people of India. Now, if you start having your own political affiliations and ideologies, then that very essence is questioned, number one. Number two, which should not be forgotten, is you are bounded by the service rule books. Number three, you do not have to forget that at the end of the day, you have certain responsibility to the Union of India, which comes through the orders passed by the central government. And those government orders, even today, supersede that of the state. But apparently, at certain point, we have found, and you have seen also, that these orders were put aside, set aside, because of high-headedness of certain people. Now, if the law of the land has to prevail, there has to be clarity and there has to be a very clear definition for the bureaucracy also to work. And hence, these amendments, I believe, in personal capacity are very important because you can set aside a legislative after every 5 years. But if you cannot set aside an officer for the next 30 years, and if he is more aligned to a political ideology than to the service rule book, that is a very clear and imminent danger.
Okay. Mr. Sapra, does this answer your question about the fear psychosis among officers that most of these states, 9 in number so far, who have written to the Prime Minister, does this answer that question?
See, the beauty of democracy is that there should be the equal distribution of power. And with the constitution given by Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar, I feel the powers have been distributed well and they are well defined between the state and the center. Now, somehow after this 7 years of Modi government, slowly they want control on each and every body. And they want authoritarian rule to come in India. They want to demolish the constitution of India. This is a part of that because largely the states, and even today the states, they don't have power to hold a particular officer. But still the democratic system allows if the administration or the IAS officer is good and he's doing a good job or he's executing a good administrative plan in the state can keep him to them for some time. That provision is there. But Modi government doesn't want that provision to be there. They want an authoritarian rule. If they feel that certain officers are to be picked up immediately, they will pick up. And what will happen? Administration of the state will get affected. The policies of the states will get affected. The implementation of policies in the state will get affected. So this is why the states are opposing this, that there should be no authoritarian rule. The administrative capacity of the state will get affected. The administration of the state will get affected. The policies being implemented in the state will get affected, and everybody will have to beg to the central government. This is what Modi government wants, that the state should beg to them that we want this officer or we don't want this officer. Even the choice of officers will ultimately lie with the superpower that is the central government. I feel this will demolish the whole democratic system.
Right. Okay. All right. Mr. Sapra and Mr. Malik, thank you so much for joining me on the broadcast. So the centre and the state clearly not really on the same page when it comes to these proposed amendments in the IAS Cadre rules. We'll, of course, keep a track on the developments that we get on this particular story. But the latest is that now the Kerala Chief Minister and the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister have also written to the Prime Minister to actually go and see as far as this amendment is concerned and not really, put this on paper and not really go ahead with these proposed amendments.